spoke. I am a senior mass communications journalism major at the Norfolk State University, and I must say it's an honor to be here to representing my university. So my question is, what is the administration doing to address racial inequalities and the impact of climate change?
That's a wonderful question, Chloe. So I've been doing a lot of work on the climate issue from years. Back when I was elected district attorney in San Francisco, I started one of the first environmental justice units of any DA's office in the country, and I'll tell you why. Because in San Francisco at the time, and I think still is the case, there's a community there called Bayview Hunters Point that has, at the time, and probably still does, an annual household income of $15,000. Predominantly black. And what we were seeing is that community was being treated like a dumping ground. And so we were seeing high rates of health outcomes, right, in that community. And I decided to take that on and deal with the polluters and the people who were doing this to make sure there was consequence and accountability for the harm that was being caused to that community. I'm describing what is referred to as an environmental justice issue. Because it's about equity, it's about fairness and the environment, right? And when I think about then anything that is about climate, we're talking about the environment. We're talking about extreme changes to the climate that manifest itself in a number of ways, including extreme weather events. Think from my home state of California, wildfires to hurricanes, tornadoes. Think about the climate issue in the context of what we need to do to deal with, for example, extreme heat and what that means in urban communities where there's only asphalt that just actually exasperates the heat effect, and where there are no trees, and what that means in terms of the public health consequences of that. Think about it as the issue of lead pipes in places like Flint and other places around our country, and the babies of that community then drinking toxic water, which is having an impact on their learning ability. Think about where that in some of the worst air quality zones in our country are also low income and communities of color, and what that means in terms of high rates of asthma, which also means missed school to address those health concerns. Think of it then in the context of, like, I like to think about a lot of things in the context of a Venn diagram. I love Venn diagrams. Always ask, is there a Venn diagram for this? I'm telling you, it's fascinating when you do. So Venn diagram, those three circles, right? So on this, the intersection between climate, extreme climate, right, which is going to be about, that's going to be also an intersection with human behaviors about greenhouse gas emissions, what we need to do around carbon capture, right? Intersection between that, public health, and then how we're thinking about in terms of the intersection between that and education. And if you want to add some more circles to the Venn diagram, the solutions also look like what we need to do to invest in a clean energy economy. And that's about a whole new economy with a whole new set of jobs that are going to require engineers, and it's going to require people who are thinking about how to design in a way that accommodates climate adaptation and resilience. And therein lies some of the opportunities when we think about the solution to the problems, right? And then if you bring that all back in a way that we look at that Venn diagram and also think about principles that are about equity, who is suffering the most? Where then should we be putting in the resources? How should we be thinking about equity in terms of what should be equitable standards and the inequities on an issue like public health, education? Lead pipes, I'll give you an example of that on this point. So, water coming out of lead pipes. The communities that have been dealing with this have been, the grandmothers and grandfathers have been telling us for years. It's having an impact on the children, on the seniors. Okay. So one of the things about lead pipes that's interesting, lead was put in pipes all over the country. So it was not only in communities, the color poor communities. But here's the thing. If you have money, if you had equity in your home, you'd say there's lead in those pipes. I need to get rid of those pipes and replace them. And you would buy some new pipes. If you don't have the money to replace the pipes, if you are a renter, what ends up happening, right? We think about it in terms of the health consequences to the children living in that community and what that has meant in terms of what we have documented over generations. So all of those issues are issues that are relevant to how we should be thinking about equity, climate justice, environmental justice. But also I urge you guys, as you write and think about the future and how you're going to leapfrog into your role of leadership, really do start to take a look at what we are creating around a new economy, which is a clean energy economy. Because, by the way, the communications major, we're going to need you to know how to talk about this issue. We're going to need you to help us articulate why we need to put resources into the things that we just discussed. If you're studying HR, whole new industries are being created. We're going to need you to work there. It's not only about engineering and science. It's going to be about also thinking about all the construction that's going to happen.